Hello and welcome back to Project Rebearth, where in the last episode we unlocked trading and the global market by placing a port. Last time we also placed a bunch of fields and started actually producing some food so that we do not have a food deficit anymore. And in this episode I want to focus on unlocking and starting to produce another major resource of the game. And that is iron, or steel, or whatever it's called in game. Now to get iron you actually need to place an iron mine, and that costs 1000 wood and 10 tools. And that will then produce 40 raw iron per day. Now to actually refine that into usable iron, or maybe it's called steel then, I'm not sure, you actually need a refinery. And the refinery costs 100 wood, 200 stone and also 10 tools. And yeah, so why do I want iron? Well, the main use for it is actually to produce tools, which as you can see we still have a deficit of. It is a small deficit, but tools are one of the hardest resources in the game to get, so yeah. So even a deficit of minus 0.7 is not really that insignificant. But yeah, to get this whole production line set up, the first thing that I need to place is an iron mine. But as you might have seen before, it actually requires 50 workers, which is quite a lot. Right now I only have 8 available workers. So actually let's just start off by expanding our residential area to fit about 50 workers. Or maybe I will actually do a little bit more than that, because the other buildings in the production line will need some workers as well. Okay, and that should be more than enough. We now have more than 80 available workers. Now the only question is, where do I actually want to place the iron mine? I definitely want to place it quite far away from all of the populated areas, just because it wouldn't really make sense to have a big, loud and polluting mine right next to where people are living. And also I think you are not even able to build that close to it. Like, I don't think you are able to build housing that close to it. So what would be a good spot for it? I think something like this grass area right down here might be good for it. So let's just go to resources, select the iron mine, and let's just place it like around, I don't know, like here. Place a little bit of a dirt area around it to make it look a little bit more industrial. And finally let's just connect it up with a road, or well, just that path for now. Okay, now as you can see we are producing 40 iron ore per day. And as I mentioned previously, the next step in this production line is actually the refinery. But that does actually require 200 stone, which I do not have. So I think I can just buy it from the market, because I do have 585 coins available. And yeah, the cheapest stone right now is only 0.68 per stone. So that shouldn't be too bad. I only need around 200. So let's just go ahead and buy that. I think I will just place the refinery right here next to the iron mine itself. I think that kind of makes the most sense. So let's just put it right like over here, I guess. And now because of placing this refinery we are actually almost out of tools, and what that means is that some production is getting throttled. Some of the production that needs tools for upkeep, that is. So yeah, right now we are very negative on alcohol, and we are also very negative on food because of that. So we do need to start producing some tools very quickly as well. And to produce the tools, you need a tools workshop, which costs just 50 wood, but it requires 4 steel per day to upkeep and 5 wood per day to upkeep. And I think that is a building that I will actually want to work into my populated area. I'm not sure exactly where I will work it in just yet, so right now I will just place it here with these kind of extra buildings that I have. So yeah, this is the tools workshop. And now just because I have less than 10 tools, I think the whole production line is kind of messed up because of the small amount of the tools resource. Then it just gets throttled. So what I think I can do to kind of get it kickstarted is to just go to the market and buy a few tools. So yeah, somebody is thankfully selling some tools. They are quite expensive as you can see, but I mean they are the hardest resource to get. And I think that if I buy just 7 of them, then I should get the whole production line started, hopefully. Okay, well no, something is still getting throttled. What could that be? Also, the refinery is getting throttled as well. Yeah, I think that might just be because the iron mine is actually only producing 40 ore per day, but the refinery requires 50, so it ends up in a deficit. So I think that if I would just lower this one to like, yeah, 80%, just so it consumes only 40 ore per day, and just click apply on that, then it should even out and start working normally. Okay, and yeah, so now we are producing a positive of 1.1 tools per day. And of course everything else that required tools to produce and was being throttled is also back to normal, like the food for example. And now as you can see I do actually still have 4 metal left over, and that is actually because a single refinery can produce up to 10 per day. Of course we lowered it a little bit so it's only 8 per day, but that's beside the point. What I mean is that the tools workshop only requires 4 iron per day or 4 metal per day in order to produce tools. So we can actually place another tools workshop. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do that really quickly. Oh, but we don't quite have enough workers for it, so yeah, let's just place like just a shack for now, just as a temporary fix. Yeah, and turn up the production rate. Okay, and yeah, just like that we are now even on our metal production, we are even on our ore production, and we are producing a positive of 3.1 tools per day, which is definitely not bad at all. And I was actually just checking the market here, and the raw iron ore is actually pretty cheap. So I think what I can do is actually go ahead and buy maybe like 100 of it. And what I can do now is actually go ahead and take this refinery, and I can up its efficiency back to 100%. Now we will be in an iron ore deficit, but that will be only a deficit of 10 per day, which is not a lot. I think I can just buy whatever I am missing. Oh, but once again, yeah, it needs more workers. I keep forgetting that I don't have workers, so a little bit more housing. For now, let's just place a house. I will make it look nice later. And yeah, so as I was saying, I can up this efficiency to 100%. And yeah, so now we have a deficit of 10 ore per day, but on the plus side we are producing a positive of 2 metal per day, and having just a little bit of metal in the stockpile instead of it just being 0 constantly might come in quite useful later on. And yeah, so with that I think our iron production line is completely set up now. But I do still actually have 1.8 thousand wood left. And I think I will use most of that, or maybe even all of it, on simply expanding the populated area of my city, just to get a good bit of extra workers that I can use later on. Yeah, I think I actually want to try out a bit more of a planned city layout on this area. So basically just a few more like kind of housing blocks similar to like this one, but maybe a little bit more square instead of like an organic layout like all throughout here. Yeah, I think that just switching up the style for a certain district of the city might end up looking quite good in the end. So yeah, let's work on this area now. Okay, I think that will be enough for now. So yeah, this is kind of the style that I wanted to try. I'm not sure if it's actually that different than what I was doing beforehand over here. I tried to do kind of a similar thing here, but the idea was to kind of transition over from a completely organic style to a somewhat organic style over here into a kind of really planned grid structure style over here. But I'm not sure how well I did that. But yeah, I guess you can just tell me if you like it or not in the comments or something. And now for the rest of this wood, I still have 450 left. There is two things that I want to do. First is to actually get my food production back to being at least neutral, and I think I can just do that by placing a few potato fields. And that will be just enough for now. And the other thing that I want to spend the rest of this wood on is actually to get a bit more wood production. So yeah, I think I'll just spend the rest of it on placing a bit more plantations. Right now we are at 744 wood per day. Let's see how much we can get it up by. And yeah, well, as I have said before, these plantations are actually quite expensive, so while it doesn't really look like a lot, it is actually quite a lot of production that just these two plantations provide. And with that we are now up to 945 wood production per day, and we even have some workers left over. And yeah, well, obviously the most important thing that we did today was start producing some iron. I think that is our first kind of proper late game resource that we are now producing, although I do think it is a pretty kind of early late game one, if that makes sense. But yeah, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that we did get quite a lot done today, so yeah, I think that will be it for this episode, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.